Hello, Facebook family. Welcome to Lit Talk. We're actually going to start the video from my personal page and then share it onto our Birth into Book page. And so, as I'm waiting on our wonderful reading specialist to chime in, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what Lit Talk is. So, Lit Talk is one of our workshops for Birth into Books. My whole sole goal with our organization is to just empower families to be able to provide the resources and strategies they need to help their child be able to read. So that's why we have the book club meetings. We also do the family events. That's also why I host the free book tables so people can start building their own personal libraries. But then also, the more and more that I'm working with children, I'm getting to talk with their parents. And then their parents always have all these questions, as we all do, right? Even me, I'm a parent. And when I learn more and more about my son's weaknesses and strengths when it comes to reading, I'm always reading up or asking my friends about, like, hey, how am I able to help my child in this area? So Lit Talk is a monthly workshop in which we're able to address questions that people who have asked us at our book club meetings or just in one-on-one conversations. And so one of the questions that was asked was, how can I help my child who may be a struggling reader? I went to report card pickup. I've been working with them at home, and I was told that he's reading below or she's reading below grade level. But then also there's an opposite thing, right? What happens if your child is reading above grade level? Trey falls into that category. So he's reading above grade level. However, I still need to know how to meet his needs. I mean, maybe the book levels that he can read are not at his maturity level, so he's not able to read all books that are like 6th and 7th grade, or 5th grade, right? However, I do want to meet him where he's at. And so this Lit Talk today is about how can we meet children where they're at? How can we be able to provide parents with the strategies and resources that they need in order to make sure that they know that their child is thriving? So in a moment, we will have a reading specialist that will be joining the conversation, in which we will start addressing some of those questions. What I ask is that for every Lit Talk, if you have questions or concerns that you would like for us to address while in the conversation, just write them below. If you have future topics that you would like for us to address, write them below. And then we will be able to go after them as the organization continues to grow and grow. So again, if you have questions or you have concerns that you would like for us to address in future Lit Talks, or even maybe in future in-person workshops, please write them below. So at this time, I'm just waiting on our reading specialist to chime in. And once she chimes in, we will be ready to go. I see Steve is online. So how are you, sir? Really soon, we should have our reading specialist here ready for us to get started. So again, once she chimes in, we'll get started. While we wait, something I can talk about is just our upcoming book club meeting. So we actually have a book club meeting. I see she's on. We have an upcoming book club meeting that's happening next Saturday, in which we have some amazing individuals who are coming to be authors and all that great stuff. And then we also have an on-site librarian who will be there to do library cards and all those amazing things as well. So I'll share a little bit more about that at the end of the video, because we are ready to go. Let's get conversation going. Hey, is it working now?
Yeah.
Praise the Lord.
I know, technical difficulties.
I know, right? I'm like, they just don't want us to be great, but it is okay. We are gonna work it out. I don't know if it didn't work because we're both admins. I don't know what was happening, but I said let's just do the personal, and then I could just share it to the page. So
Okay,
hopefully
sounds good.
cool. So I was giving some information, but I can give that at the end. One of the things I just want to reiterate now that we are both on the screen is that if you have questions or if you have concerns that you want us to talk about while this conversation is going on, if you chime in while we're talking, just write them below. If not, we will just address them at a later date. And then again, it's on Facebook Live. So you're able to share it and you're able to watch it later at your leisure. So the topic for this lit talk is, how do I help my child who may be a struggling reader? They are below grade level, or they are reading above. This is a question that quite a few parents have asked me as they come to like our book club meetings or we talk one on one. So we just felt like this would be a good topic for November. So to open up the conversation, let's first talk about, how do you even know if your child will be categorized as someone who's a struggling reader or a reader who is above level?
Okay. So the difference, but well, if you want to see if your child is a struggling reader, first of all, you got to pay attention to them when they're doing their homework, and even if they're younger, just pay attention to the activities that you do with them. You have to be involved and you have to have a communication with their teacher to know. But some things that you'll see when you're working with them with their homework, they may struggle sounding out words.
Yep.
They may have issues remembering basic sight words, like down is a sight word, up is a sight word, help is a sight word. Those are simple sight words, but they'll have trouble remembering those because they're a little bit bigger. Sometimes they don't match the phonemic or phonics rules that we have in reading. So they'll have issues remembering those basic words. Also, when they're reading, they'll start to omit words or add words.
Got you.
So when they're reading, they might see, it might be, the sentence might be, the cat is running. They might put in, the funny cat is running, just because it looks like the picture, because it makes sense. They just add it. Or they'll omit the word altogether and not even say it. So you know that they're not tracking as much. Also, the reading is choppy. Reading should be fluent. It should come out, the dog is running really fast, not the dog is running. So it'll be really choppy if they are struggling with their reading skills. And also, reading and writing go hand in hand.
Yep.
So if they're having trouble with their spelling test, their vocabulary test, depending on what grade level they are, that's how you know that they're probably a struggling reader. For your above level reading, again, that's that communication with the teacher, the parent and the teacher, to know what reading level they're on. A lot of the districts and schools are all about reading levels now. Yeah. So Lexile, DRA, Fontes and Pinnell. So any one of those are very good reading levels that you need to be aware of. So an above level reader is pretty much the opposite of what the struggling reader. They are good at sight words. They read fluently. There's no breaks, no choppiness. They have no problem acing their spelling tests, things of that nature. But you have to be careful, again, with that above level reader, because comprehension goes with that.
Exactly.
If they're not understanding what they're reading, then we have a problem. That's what we call a word caller. They can decode words. They can get kind of like Curly Sue, that movie. I'm showing my age. But she could spell these gigantic words, right, but she really couldn't read. So it's a word caller. So you have to pay attention to that. Again, that's that communication with the teacher and paying attention to the papers that the teacher sends home. What are those grades? Are they acing the spelling test and failing the comprehension test? But mainly that, oh boy, that was some type of beeping noise.
Yeah.
But mainly that's what the above reader will look like. And you might even see behavior problems in those children.
Yeah.
Because they're bored.
Yep.
They may understand and they can read straight through it and tell you exactly what happened, and they're bored. So those are things that you have to look out for as a parent.
So you hit on quite a few things, and I'm laughing because one of my friends, Cool, he's so silly, talking about that's his problem. Cool, you a grown man. You know, these strategies can work for you as well. And
of course.
Finale, I will have some workbooks for you, okay? But you hit on quite a few things that, first of all, we could be looking at their spelling, right? And so those
Yeah.
are some like ideas or just different signs as a parent, like, hey, how is their spelling? Because a lot of times they're going
Yes.
to be spelling the way they hear it or the way they sound it out, and you're like, okay, they're still
Exactly.
spelling right. There also can be an issue when it comes to their choppiness, so it's the fluency, right? So maybe they know the
Yes.
words, however, it takes them a long time to process it and sound it out, and so
Ex-
you're working with a different issue. You may be more so practicing on their fluency so that they can just speed up the time it takes them to read. But then also
Yes.
write, which I really appreciate you sharing that as well, because we could have our students or our children who can read really well, but maybe they can't really put it into words, or they don't know how to summarize what they're reading and all those different things.
Yes.
Um, on the flip side, I would say as a parent for me, because I would say Trey is a above reader, but he definitely still
Okay.
was with comprehension, and so that
Yes.
I like that as well. So even though he can recall and read the words, and regardless of how
Mm-hmm.
big the word is, he can sound it out. He knows the letter sounds and all of that.
And that's
I
excellent.
to put it in sequence or tell me like,
Mm-hmm.
main ideas, that could be a little bit more challenging. So I think that one of the things with that question is that it's such a loaded question, because
Yeah.
you have to really figure out what is the thing that my child is struggling with, and then that is going to be the skill or the practice that you are practicing with your child. And so that goes straight into our next comment or question is, what are some things that parents can do to help a struggling reader? And we've already kind of talked about some of the signs of it, but what are some at
Mhm.
home strategies and tips that you would have for the struggling reader?
So first off, I'm going to say it over and over again. You need to communicate with the teacher.
Yep.
The teacher is the one who knows what exactly, if they're doing their job right, they know exactly what they're struggling in, whether it be decoding, whether it be just fluency.
Mm-hmm.
But the main thing that as a parent you can help your child is to read. The best way to get better at reading is to
You gotta
read.
practice it, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And one thing that we do as parents and as teachers, we stop them when they mess up.
Mm,
Try not to do that as much. Let them read maybe the first three sentences and let them go ahead and mess up. You just note where they messed up
got you.
and then go back and say, okay, let's look at this word. Let's break it down because I saw that you kind of messed
Mm,
up on that one. Um, Also, when you have a struggling reader, when it comes to like homework, because they're gonna get reading homework home, even as young as kindergarten, they get sight word books coming home. And as they get older, they have the social studies and history, things that are very difficult to read if you are a struggling reader. Um, Help them with that.
okay.
Definitely help them through that. But the way to get them better in their actual reading skills is to find something that they like.
Mm,
Because again, you need to read in order to get better at reading.
exactly.
And knowing that reading level is the key. So if you find, say, a good sight word book, I'll go from kindergarten, a sight word book, reread that sight workbook over and over again, because as I said, some of the issues with the struggling reader is they don't remember the sight words, they don't remember the basic words. So repetition is the key. I know a lot of curriculums are getting away from repetition and rote, but it
It's
works
important.
because 40, let's see, research says 40 repetitions of just looking at the letter A is just telling you that it's the letter A, not that it's makes the sound that it can be put into a sentence, that it can be put into a word. So 40 repetitions. So think about how many times that you have to read that book
Yeah.
over and over again. And it doesn't have to be the same book per se, but it does have to be on the same reading level because it'll have the same sight words for that level. And once they master that area, you can move on to, you can kind of push them up to the next level. So again, that communication with the teacher, what are they doing in class? So they know, so you know what's going on in the classroom so you can better help them at home.
Yeah, I think something you hit that I wanted to make sure I hit on, and even me being an educator, I forget this because I think when we're working with our children, we
Hmm.
sometimes, to be honest, can lose some of that patience, right? So in the classroom,
Yes.
it's easy for me to be like, okay, let's work it out, or let's sound it out, or I allow you to struggle through it. But for whatever reason, when we get home, I know that was something that I fell short in. It's like why Trey was working through something, if he was struggling, I'm stopping like, no, stop right there. Like going back over it
Yeah.
moment. And I think that you hit a big point of like, no, let them go through it, let them mess up and just take note of it. And I know the one thing as a parent that we don't necessarily forget, what we can forget is that we're
Mm.
also helping our child build their confidence in reading.
Exactly.
Children don't want to read out loud because one, they don't want to make mistakes. They don't want to sound like
Hmm.
they don't know what they're talking about. So the worst thing we can do is in the moment keep highlighting every time you messed up. So if you
Exactly.
mess up in a sentence 4 or 3 times and I make sure you know it each time, then you're not going to want to read the second sentence because you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. So I appreciated that of just like, hey, allow them to mess up. And then once they messed up, then go back and say, hey, let's read this sentence over. These were a couple of things that I saw you should work with. But we need to allow them to build their confidence in reading, especially for the struggling.
Exactly. It's very stressful when you are a struggling reader. It's stressful
Mm-hmm.
because you're, like you just said,
Like
is
over,
you're trying to get it
right?
right. You want to get it right.
Yep.
And you know that you might not get it right,
Mm-hmm.
so you're hesitant about it. That's another reason why they become choppy in their reading, because they're unsure of themselves. So, like you said, letting them read and just mess up, it's okay because
Exactly.
you're you're the parent now, so they're in their safe haven. So it's okay for them to mess up and you can go back. And as a parent, like you said, you gotta breathe,
Yeah.
because you're like, no, it's right there, and you'll get frustrated. Even as a parent, I teach preschool all day long, and then I come home and help my third grader with her homework, and it's like, don't you see it? I
Exactly.
see it. Don't you see it?
Exactly.
And I have to take a step back and tell her to breathe and tell me to breathe, and
Exactly.
because they get stressed out, they do.
Yeah. So that's really cool. So just remember that when it comes to those struggling readers, that we're not only just trying to build their ability to read, we're also trying to help them with their confidence. We're trying to also help them to be able to better understand it. And all that takes patience on their side and patience on our side as parents. So now that we've talked
Yes.
about the struggling parent, let's talk about the above reading levels child, right? So if you have a child who may not struggle with what we said, they may not have the choppiness with their words, and they may not have the issues when it comes to spelling and writing and all of that. But what are some things that we can do at home to support them as they are thriving and reading as well?
Well, for the above level reader, again, I'm gonna say it again, you got to communicate with your
Mm,
teacher, because they are the ones that are in the trenches with your child. One of the things that you have to find out, as we spoke on earlier, is the comprehension. Is the comprehension there?
mm,
Are they just a word caller, or are they comprehending? So if comprehension is the issue, well, you have to sit down and read with them. So if they're sitting there with their social studies homework, we'll have them read that paragraph and then tell you what in the world happened in that
yeah,
paragraph. You just have, it takes time. Also, with the above level reader, if they don't have that comprehension piece, you still have to sit with your child. Even if they're 14 years old, you got to sit there with them and take the time out if you want them to succeed. But go paragraph by paragraph. Okay, tell me what you saw. If they are not really in the mood to talk, well, just jot down notes.
right.
So that's another habit, a good note taking habit that you can instill in your child, that will also be working in the classroom, that note taking piece.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it keeps their brain focused on what they're actually reading, because they know, okay, now I'm reading for a purpose. I'm not just reading because the teacher told me to, because we're doing round robin in the classroom.
Exactly.
I'm actually reading because I need to know some information. um, and just, if it's not the classwork that you have, because of course homework takes a second, a couple of minutes, but visit a teacher store. and find those comprehension books on their grade level. You don't have to beat it into them because school is all day long. They
Exactly.
live they go to school all day, and then they come home and do all that homework. So just like you don't want to do work all day, they don't want to do work all day. So they need some breathers, but a little change of pace. Those comprehension books will actually help when it comes to their reading and comprehension. Now, if they are above level and they're comprehending very well, well, you kind of move into the writing piece, because I saw this quote maybe about a week ago. Reading is like inhaling and writing is like exhaling.
Oh,
So
I
they go
like that. Say
hand.
it one
I
more,
know, right?
one more time.
One more time. Reading is like inhaling and writing is like exhaling. I'm gonna find that quote and post it on the
Yeah,
page.
I like that.
Um, so start appealing to the writing piece. Buy them a journal. It could be just a journal for them to write. Now, you don't want to get into their business, when they get a little older, they don't necessarily want you in the business or what they're journaling, but have a family prompt, you
Mm.
know,
Oh, that's really cool.
have a prompt, something that you're interested in, something you all saw on the TV. It could even be whatever music, what's that, um, video game, Fortnite. It could be anything. But have a prompt and have a family discussion about it, about what they wrote, and you get involved. You sit down and you write what you feel about it as well,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to be the example. You have to model what you want to see as
Yep.
a teacher and as a parent. Um, I do have a website. There's a website that they can start to create their own stories
Mm.
and like graphic novels, magazines, kind of comic book era. It's called boomwriter.com.
Say
And
that one more time.
later we'll come back with that. Boomwriter, BOOM writer.com. And it's
Gotcha.
free. So they can go in and
Even
build their own stories, their own dialogue. Yes, free. Free is good.
yeah.
But either
Um,
way,
I want
you
I
have
want
to
to like
you have to
address
be
and
invested. You broke it
yes.
up. I couldn't
And
hear
the
you.
one
What
thing
you
I want
say?
to say is first, like, hello. Can you hear me
Mm,
now?
you froze. You froze.
You hear me?
Yes, freezes a little bit. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna say we just have some people on, so I just want to say hello to everyone who's on. If you are just now joining the conversation, feel free to comment if you agree with what things we're saying. If you want to add to the conversation, if you have additional questions along with this topic, our topic is how can you help both struggling readers that may be your child, or if you're a teacher yourself, how can you help struggling readers, and then also how can you, we're currently talking about those readers who are above level. And then Christine just wrote, that's good
Mhm.
to know. I just gave my 5-year-old a journal a few weeks ago. And so that's really cool. I think the idea that she
And
gave
that's
about
awesome.
having a family prompt is that I think the main thing as parents is
Hmm.
that we have to know that we are a part of the reading process. We cannot just give our kid a book and say,
Exactly.
go read, or here's some spelling words, go spell. You need to be there with them while they're reading. You need to listen to them read. You need to you need to be listening so that you can respond and ask questions. I think that that's the biggest thing as well, that it can seem like a lot of work, but it's an investment. And if we really want to see our children
Exactly.
to grow and thrive, we have to be a part of the process. I know that one
Hmm.
thing that helps Trey is if while he's reading, if I'm reading too, right? And then we can
Hmm.
share
Exactly.
like what we're reading and what we're doing, because of course it may, especially if you have a child that doesn't enjoy reading, if they see it's something that you and they're doing together, it can be like that quality time that y'all spend. So I also am going to incorporate the same thing, Christine. I'm going to get Trey a writing journal, because I think that's cool to maybe he's so into WWE wrestling right now. It's driving me crazy.
Okay.
But I can make a writing prompt about that, right? Like, hey, let's
You
talk about,
can.
the latest fight. Let's figure out why did so and so win. And he can just write about, like, why do you think John Cena won the match? And he could just write about that. And I think him just practicing
Exactly.
about a topic that he likes can in the same way help and strengthen his work in the classroom. So that was a really great suggestion.
Exactly. And then
Yeah.
just to add to that, those journals usually have like a drawing piece to it so they can draw out
Mm,
what they're, if they're struggling readers, they can draw out the pictures and then you can dictate it. So you can go in as a parent and write at the top, okay, this is Johnny jumping over the wall. And that's
mm,
still reinforcing that visual, audio, reading, writing all together.
really cool. We're coming slowly to the close, and then we'll give some like next steps. But the last question I have are, what are some book series or books? I think it's all about content, right? Especially even if you are a struggling or above level reader, you definitely need to learn how to work through hard text that might not be enjoyable, right? Because not everything you're going to read in school is for enjoyment, but we're talking about at home. So at home, you do want to make it a little bit more
Yes.
relaxed so that they can enjoy the process of reading. What are some suggestions of book series and books that we could get for our children?
Okay, so I'm happy that you said that you got to find those interests because I was going to say that. You have to start there because even most, the struggling reader will read better when they're interested in what they're reading. So I looked up a couple of things for us. There are, well, the website scholastic.com is a great resource because it caters to the lowest level to level junior high, middle school. You can actually search the books through those levels.
Mm,
And one of them for the older kids are like the Mad Lib books. They
okay.
are like word game stories, so they add different twists to the stories. You have the graphic novels, which are more
Mm,
comic book like, so it's not the actual regular reading book format. So it might be more interesting. It has pictures, so they might be a little bit more involved. I also found some magazines, some children magazines. There's one if your kid is interested in drama. It's actually called Drama. Well, no, it's actually called Play, the
okay.
drama magazine for young people.
Okay.
Um, and another one that I found that was it's a leveled magazine series. It's called cricketmag.com,
Okay.
and it has age levels from 3 to 6, 6 to 9, and 9 to 14. Because I know our window is quite big for your reading groups.
Yeah.
But that is those are just a few. Because I could go on and on and on about how many book series. The Pinkalicious for the little kids, the Angry Cat, Angry Kitty, I think it is. Bad Kitty, there it is. Bad Kitty. Um, Buzz the Fly for the younger kids. There are a couple of novels that I saw on Scholastic when I was looking today for some of the middle school kids, and that'll help the above level
Mm,
readers because it's something more interesting, something more in depth, and it keeps them at their age level. So you don't want them reading a book that we might read. So
'cause the content, right? The
yeah,
content might not be
yeah, the content
right. Cool.
might not
Well,
be appropriate.
exactly. If you didn't get to catch the websites or the resources that she just stated, we're going to put them a part of the video, so it'll be in the comments, so you'll be able to go back and see them later. I think a suggestion of something I also saw a lot of like high readers, they love like those trilogy books, like the books that keep going and going, and so you're able to kind of predict what may be happening next. I think, like she said, there's so many
Yeah.
resources that are out there. It's just finding that thing that catches your child's attention and just like keep going
Mm-hmm.
on with it. Um, so one thing I wanted to share before we end out this segment is that going forward, we're going to have our lit talks a little bit more catered to different age groups. That way we're able to really go in depth with the topic. So if you have never visited one of our book clubs, you should visit it. But our book clubs are broken up into 4 age groups. So we have 6 months to 3-year-olds, 4 to 7, 8 to 10, and 11 to 13. And so when we're trying to talk about certain topics, something that may be applicable for a 6-year-old may not be the same thing for a 13-year-old. So we want to make sure that our topics are really geared towards our age groups, and so parents can have all of the knowledge and all of the resources that you can provide. So with that being said, at our next book club meeting, we're going to be surveying parents. So if you have questions or concerns you have for any of those age groups, I will be coming around at the book club meetings, talking to parents, getting questions so that it can aid to what our future Lit Talks are. However, we definitely will continue this every month, but just know going forward, there'll be a little bit more geared towards age groups. So before we close out, I just wanted to say thank you so much for spending this Sunday with us. I see you rock. I also got a comment. I see you rocking your Zeta.
Of course.
You know, so I got to give some props out to the So definitely, but when we end out, we're going to share this video on both of the Burst Into Books pages. If you have questions after this video, pose them and we will come back to it. Again, thank you for spending this Sunday with us. Share this video, and we will continue these conversations every month. Have a wonderful Sunday.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.